Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jody Meza, and this is Faith in Action. And today I'm going to talk about the parable of the talents, which is found in Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30. But before I get started, are you part of my email list? If not, click the link in the description and join my email list where I'll send you more videos, I'll send you lessons, and I'll send you strategies that will help you put your faith in action and merge your faith with your finances. But let's just dive into this. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like you didn't have enough? Like the gifts that you have are too small, your skills were too small, your money wasn't enough? Have you ever been afraid to just step out on faith and do something? Well, if you answered yes to any of those things, this video today is for you. Again, we're going to be talking about the parable of the talents, and that's found in chapter 25 of Matthew, and it's verses 14 through 30. And I'm not going to read all that for you, but I'm going to summarize some points that we take from that. But I do want to give you a couple of background points. First of all, the talents that they're talking about in this chapter is actually money. It's not just your skills and ability, but your talents include a lot of things. But this particular chapter is talking about money. And the talent in that day was equivalent to anywhere from 15 to 20 years of a person's wages. It said that if it were in today's time, that a talent could be equivalent to something like anywhere from $1 million to $3 million. So even when you read the story and it talks about the servant that only got one talent, realize that even at that, we're talking about maybe $1 million or more. So it's no small thing. But anyway, the I'm just going to summarize a little bit about the story. So what happens is the master is going to take a trip, a long trip, and he has three servants. And in this story, he's entrusting his three servants with money. He's giving them money to manage, to steward, and another word for steward is to manage. And so he's giving them money to manage for him while he's gone. And so for one servant, he gives him 5 talents, or in the New Living Translation, it says 5 bags of silver. Remember that I told you that a talent is so could be somewhere equivalent to $1 million. It's roughly about 15 to 20 years of wages. And so that's an enormous amount. He gives another servant 2 talents, and he gives another servant 1 talent. And it says that he gives it to them according to their abilities. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But he gives it to them according to their abilities. And it says that then, I'm going to look down at my Bible as we go, and it says that then immediately he left and he went on a journey. And so it says that the servant that received 5 talents took those 5 talents, invested it, and made 5 more talents in addition to those. The servant that he gave 2 talents did the same thing, took the 2 talents, invested it, and that he received 2 more talents. Over what the master had given him. And then he said that the servant that he gave 1 talent, he said that that servant took the talent and he buried it in the ground. He didn't do anything with it. He didn't invest it. He just dug a hole and he buried that talent in the ground. And so it says that after a while, the master came back, and so he came back for a day of accountability. And so he went to the servant who he gave 5 talents, and he said, Master, you gave me 5 talents, and I've increased it to 5 more talents. And the master said, Well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many. And then he took the servant who had 2 talents, and he said, Master, you gave me 2, and I got 2 in addition to that. And the master said, Well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many. And then he went to the servant who had received 1 talent, and that servant said, Lord, I knew that you are a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have scattered no seed. And I was afraid. And I went and I hid the talent in the ground. And look, there you have what is yours. But the Lord answered him and said to him, "You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I had not sown, and you knew that I gathered where I had not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming, I would have received back at least my own with interest." And so he says, "Therefore, take that talent and give it to him who had 10 talents. For everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But for him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away." So he says, everyone who has will be given, and he will have an abundance bit, but he who does not have, even what he has, will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And so that is basically the story of the talent and the talents. And so there are a couple points that I would like to make. First of all, God gives us each unique gifts, skills, and resources. He gives us skills, he gives us money, and he gives us opportunities. God gives us what we can handle. Remember that it said that he gave each according to his abilities, or in other words, he gave each of them according to what they can handle. So does that mean that everybody could be a millionaire? Everybody has the potential to be a millionaire, but everybody does not have the ability to handle $1 million or to handle $1 billion. To some people, if God gave them the entrusted $1 million with them, it would be detrimental to them. So he gives each according to what he can handle. He gives each according to what he handles. And so whether you have a small amount or whether you have a great amount, it's all, the key is in your faithfulness. How faithful are you with what God has given you? And what do you do? The servants that he called, it's interesting whether the servant had 5 talents or whether he had 2, each of them multiplied it, increased the master's money, and for each of them he had the same saying, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." So even though the one servant had much more money and increased it by much more money, that's the servant who had 5 talents and got 5 more, and the next servant had 2 talents and he multiplied it and increased it to 2 talents, the master gave them the same response: "Well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many." Which means it doesn't matter how much you have, it's what you do with what you do have. So it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's how you handle, it's how you manage the money that God has given you, how he's entrusted it with you. And when he sees that you manage well what he's given you, then he's going to increase what he gives you. And so then he will give you the "well done, thy good and faithful servant." He made both of them rulers over many because they handled well, they executed well, they managed well the money they had. So here's the key. Here's number one key. Whether you have a great amount of money or whether you have a small amount of money, God has given you that amount of money according to your abilities. And if you are a good manager, if you are a good steward with the resources that God has entrusted to you, he will say, "Well done," and he will give you more. He will increase. And every time he increases, if you increase, he'll keep increasing, and you increase and he increases. And then you get to like an Ephesians 3:20, where it's over and above what we could even ask or imagine, because God is blessing us in that way. But again, it's each according to his ability. So it's according to your ability to be able to handle and to manage it. But whether you have a lot or whether you have a little, the key factor is faithfulness. The key factor is increasing and multiplying what God has given us. So even if what you have seems small, don't worry about it. Just manage well and handle well that which you've been given, and God will allow that to grow. And so the other servant, the servant that had one talent, he allowed fear to hold him back. And have you ever been in that situation where you really felt you knew what you should do, but you don't do it because you allow fear to hold you back? It says that that servant actually dug a hole in the ground and he hid the master's money. Have you ever felt like your money is being put in pockets that have holes in it? Like, do you ever feel like you get money today and it's gone tomorrow? Like, have you ever heard the old adage, I have a hole in my pocket? What they mean is that the money is getting away or the money is escaping. And sometimes we have that hole in our pocket because of two things. One, because we fear to take the risk and to step out. And two, it could be because we are not managing what the Lord has entrusted with us well. God values action. He wants us to take action. He wants us to take steps. He doesn't want us to be passive where it comes to the resources that He's entrusted to us. He wants us to multiply. Remember back in Genesis, He told Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply. God works in multiplication. And even in our finances and even in the our skills and our talents and all that God has entrusted in us, He wants us to be able to multiply. I'm sorry, He wants us to be able to multiply what He has given us. And then it talks about the fact that accountability, because actually a day of accountability is going to come. It says that the master was gone for a long time, but he came back, and when he came back, he called his servants into accountability. He wanted to know what they had done with what he entrusted in them. And guess what? That same thing is going to happen for us. There is going to be a day of accountability, and God is going to want to know, what did we do with what he entrusted with us? Did we use it for the uplifting and the building of his kingdom? Did we multiply it? Did we add increase to what he's given us? Or were we like the servant who was afraid and just dug a hole in the ground and just buried the talent? So I want to talk about 7 points from the parable of the talent. First of all, God entrusts us with resources and gifts. You know, in Matthew chapter 25, verse 15, it says, to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his ability. In First Corinthians chapter 12, verses 4 through 6 talks about that. It talks about being about us having different gifts, but the same Spirit gives them to us, and that there are different kinds of service, but all to the same Lord. The second point is we are called to be faithful over what we've been given. And Matthew 25:21 says, the master says, well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things, or I will make you ruler of many. And then Luke chapter 16, verse 10 reminds us, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. So if you can be trusted with a little, you can be trusted with much. Third, it talks about faithfulness, and that leads to increased responsibilities and blessings. Remember that in Matthew chapter 25, verse 21, it says, I will put you in charge, or I will make you ruler over many things. And Proverbs 3, 9, and 10 talks about honor the Lord with your wealth, and then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and that your vats will be full. And so the fourth point that I want to make is fear and inactivity results in loss. That's the servant who had 1 talent, and that he hid the talent in the ground, and the master called him a lazy and wicked servant. And James 2:17 says, faith without works is dead, or faith that is not accompanied by action is dead. And the fifth point I want to make is that God expects us to take risks for his kingdom. And in Matthew 25:16 through 17, the master left the money with him. He didn't tell the servants how to increase the money. He didn't even tell the servants what to do with the money. but he expected them to do something, to take action and to provide increase. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 1, we're reminded to cast our bread upon the water, for after many days we will find it again. The sixth point is that a day of accountability is coming. And in Matthew 25:19, it says, after a long time, the master of those servants returned to settle accounts with them. And Romans 14:12 tells us each of us will give an account for ourselves to God. And the seventh point is using our gifts brings joy to God and to ourselves. And in Matthew 25:21, he says, enter into the joy of your master. He says, enter into the joy of your master. So when they did what they were supposed to do, when they provided increase, they came into the joy of their master. And First Peter 4:10 says, it says that each of you should use whatever gifts you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace. So that is that those are 7 points from the talents. And so you might ask me, okay, Jody, so you've given me 7 points, you told me about the talents, but how do we live this out today? And so the first thing that we need to do is we need to identify our gifts and our resources. Take the time out to see what God has actually given us, what we've been entrusted with, what skills he's given us, the time that he's given us, the money he's given us, the influence that he's given us, the ability to encourage others. And remember that no gift is too small. No gift is too small. If God gifted us, he wanted us to use it. So the first thing that we need to do is to identify our resources. And the next thing we need to know is that we might start small, but what we've got to do is start now. Don't wait another minute. Don't be like the servant that had one talent. Don't hide your talent in the ground. Don't think that you have to wait until you have this big amount of money or these great skills or talents. But just even if you have a small amount, the important thing is to start now. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because I can tell you, if you wait for that, that time will probably never come. The perfect time is right now. Just start now and be faithful over the little things. It doesn't matter if you don't have a lot. Just be faithful over what you have. And as you increase it, as you multiply it, God will give you more of an abundance. He will increase it for you too. Overcome fear with faith. I know it's scary sometimes. It's scary to step out. It's scary to do that thing, but just be faithful and just allow faith to overcome your fear. We've got to take risks sometimes. We can't be like, again, I keep saying, don't be like the servant who only had one talent and buried his talent in the ground. And realize that our gifts are given to us so that we can serve others. They're not just for us, but they're to serve others, and they're to build up the kingdom of God. And remember that our reward is eternal, that the things that we do have an eternal purpose. We are serving in the kingdom of God, and that kingdom is eternal and everlasting. And so I'm asking you guys today, this is my call to action. Start today. Start now, regardless of how big or how small your gifts are, regardless of how much or how little money you have. Start now. Be like the two servants, the servant that had 5 talents and the servant that had 2 talents, and go out there and multiply and increase for the kingdom, and step fear, and don't let fear hold you back. So I hope you guys found some useful tips and tools. I hope you enjoyed the story. I just summarized it, but I encourage you to go back and read it for yourself. Again, that's Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30. And remember, if you're not already on my email list, click the link in the description and join my email list. I love to send you out lessons. I love to send you out tips on faith, on action, on finances. It's my pleasure. And so I hope you will click the link and join my email community. If you got anything out of this video, I hope that you will share it, that you will hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe as well. Thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys the next time for the next lesson. Have a great day.